Good afternoon, folks. I am retired Lieutenant Colonel J. Arnold Clamon, 33 years Air Force and 28 years Civil Service DOD, loving the life, living the dream, sometimes a nightmare, depending on how you want to call it. But this podcast is Lessons from the Line, and it is a interview podcast where I'm interviewing folks like my good friend here, Chris Rudiger, who have served. Chris served. He was EOD for the Navy.
Yes, sir.
After he did that, he decided to continue serving and join the police force down in Hobe Sound, Florida. I believe I got that correct.
Stuart, Florida, but close.
Stuart, Florida, close enough. Right down the street from each other.
Yes, sir.
But this interview is basically an interview of thought-provoking questions for Chris and what he decided and why he went the route he went. So without further ado, Chris, introduce yourself a little bit more, and then we'll jump into the questions real quick.
All right. Well, hi, I'm Chris Rudiger, married to the lovely Tina Rudiger. And as you were told, I was in the Navy for 26 years, followed by 8 years in law enforcement. And I am very happily married for 32 years and have two sons and currently living in the state of Virginia.
Awesome. And that's a fresh move there, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Well, I live and travel in my RV, so I don't know where home is. It's wherever I'm parked, I guess.
Home is wherever you drive it to.
Wherever I drive it to. That's right.
That's right.
So let's get into this and let's dig a little deeper into Chris's background and Chris's thought process on these questions here. And the first question I have for you, Chris, is during your time on the line, and you can choose this line either military or police, or it may be both. What is your biggest takeaway from serving the line?
Well, after giving that some thought, I did combine the two. As anyone that knows us, my wife and I are the founders of Sheepdog Marriage, and we relate most things to sheepdog, which is those folks that serve in uniform or stand the line. And so by virtue of that, both my service in the Navy and as a police officer are combined in that. And so one of my biggest takeaways, and who doesn't love to talk about their sea stories or their cop stories or
exactly
give all these great stories, but there are plenty of other venues for that. And so what I would say in response to that question is my greatest takeaway from walking the line, standing the line, if you will, is that you should definitely know the why of your why you're standing the line or walking the line, standing in the gap, whatever it is that you would call it. Why are you wearing the uniform? And from the 30,000-foot view, after 34 years of service and learning a whole lot of life lessons, some difficult, some not so difficult, here is my definition of that. I've had a lot of adventures. I've learned a lot of great skills, made a lot of great friends. But at the end of the day, the reason that I have served is so that we can enjoy a safer, better, more loving, more thriving society. The problem in that is that I got so focused on that I let fall behind me the very reason I was doing that, which is my family.
Exactly.
And so for me, the bottom line up front,
yep,
is that I stood the line for my family, for the benefit of my family, so that they can have a good, free, productive life. And one of the other takeaways that goes along with that is that service is not without sacrifice.
True.
both of my family, but particularly for myself. The anyone that served in uniform for any length of time will tell you, if they're being honest, that afterward, looking back, we're very type A personalities. We push through things, and we don't really account for how much that stress and strain and discipline, how much effect it has on your body, your mentality, your relationships, all of those things. And so at the end of the day, the goal is to have provided an environment that's free and safe and thriving for your family that you are also in.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
With enough physical and mental health capacity to enjoy it with them.
Right. And sometimes we get misconstrued with which family we're trying to serve and protect.
Yes.
Because serving in the you know it as well, serving in the military, wearing that uniform every day, that's one family that we're protecting and trying to protect, in addition to the family that we have at home. And sometimes those ideas and thoughts get mixed up and miscombobulated within our brain as to who the priority is.
Yes. Yes.
And it's hard to, when you're deployed, it's easy to focus on that family that you've got, but then when you get home, you still have that family that you're working with every day, but you have a family at home that you deal with at night. And that's where the miscombobulation comes in, trying to stay focused from being pulled two different directions, I guess, is what I'm trying to say there.
Right.
Yes.
And
go ahead.
So I guess my last takeaway in that is that our many years of experience looking back on it and having the hindsight that my wife and I have now, one of the great things when we are speaking to people, coaching people, we talk about rhythm.
Right.
And as opposed to balance. And so many times when you say the word balance, it's like 50-50, right? If I give 10 hours at work, I better give 10 quality hours at home.
Right.
And that's just not realistic. If you serve in a uniform of any kind, you're either deploying or doing shift work, or you name it. It's not a normal lifestyle. And so we really thrive in rhythm. So rhythm says that if I work extra hours this week, this month, perhaps next month I'm taking a vacation. Well, I'm working those extra hours. So, right. But no matter what we're doing in the peaks and the valleys, we're moving forward, and we're allotting time in advance for these other for that ultimate balance.
Right. Right.
The balance might not be right next to each other all the time, but in the course of a rhythm, you find that balance.
Right. And rhythm is the key that you need to have within your family, and it has to be a rhythm from both directions, not only us as the military members or police officers, but also our spouses have to be within that same rhythm.
Correct.
And that's something that since I've retired from the military, I've tried to develop and are continuing to develop that rhythm with my wife and what we do and where we live and where we go. And it's an ongoing process each and every day, learning rhythm.
Right. And ultimately that rhythm should provide for your ability to work as hard at your marriage and your family as you do your career.
Right. So during your time on the line, knowing what go ahead, knowing what you know now, what would you have told your younger self?
I would have told myself, young man, slow down. Think before you do, and plan ahead.
Yeah, that's true. And one other thing I guess I would add to it would be don't forget where you came from.
Yes, that was the next one I was about to mention is remember who your big boss is.
Right.
We're working for God, and we're working for our family.
Right.
And
right.
I'm about as patriotic a guy as you're ever going to meet.
Preach it, brother.
But the way that strong nation
Hmm.
is developed is through connection to God and strong families.
Right. And
So
without that, I don't know how people go through life day to day not knowing God.
yes,
I just, I can't wrap my head around it. I don't want to wrap my head around it because there's no hope there. And without God in your life, I don't know how people have hope.
right, right. I definitely have had a relationship with God throughout my entire life, my entire career. However, if I'm being honest, I relied many more times on my own strength and my own capabilities,
Hmm.
or I leaned on God's. And that's what I would tell my younger self, is that yes, you should grow in your ability, your capability, but at the same time, you should be growing in your relationship with God, so you know truly where the end of your capabilities and abilities are.
Right. And I'm right there with you. I wish I'd told my younger self those exact same things, focus on God first and everything else will come along with it as it should be. So
Yes.
during your time on the line, what is your biggest regret?
My biggest regret is probably, this may sound, these are probably not the typical answers, but hopefully somebody hears it and takes it to heart. One of my biggest regrets in my time on the line is that it's kind of a twofold thing. By virtue of just circumstance, not because I'm any kind of natural born leader, but by virtue of circumstance, I found myself constantly being in leadership roles throughout my career. And I took that to heart as like, I have to lead. I have to be perfect. I have to do it myself. I'm the guy for the job.
Right.
And what I regret is not pulling in mentors.
Mm.
Uh, there were certainly identifiable people throughout my career that led me and to some extent mentored me, but I should have gone to them, particularly um, men that had a strong relationship with God,
Right.
and got right in their path and said, "Hey, bro, will you be my mentor? Will you be the guy I can come to? Will you help me out?
Right.
Will you lead me in more than just EOD tactics, tools, and techniques?" Right. Same in law enforcement. Um, so finding mentors, because I have a distinct feeling that throughout there were many times when I realized that my personal life and my family were not where they should have been, and but it wasn't, unfortunately, it was not enough to motivate me to go out and find a mentor, which is what I should have done.
Right. And you mentioned earlier that the line of work that we do in the military, 95% of the people are type A personalities, which are go getters. And we're also the type of people that'll bang our head against the wall till we bleed before we find the mentor or somebody else to help explain what it is that we're going through and why it's so difficult to make it happen without seeking that assistance or that help.
Right.
So yeah, I would say the same thing. There were many times in my career that I should have looked for a mentor or I should have found somebody who had helped me avoid the landmines that I was going through, so to speak, and
Right.
walk around them and not go through them.
Right. And I always like to take responsibility for everything in my life, the results of my life, the actions in my life. Yes, there are many times when circumstances kind of push us into a corner and dictate things.
Right.
I find it freeing if I can be honest and authentic and say, what could I have done differently? And
Yes.
so again, I just think I could have done a better job of seeking out and connecting with mentors. And that's not to say that I did not experience a lot of great leaders in my life,
Hmm.
a lot of great opportunities to learn, schooling, education, all of these things. But looking back on it now, what I realized, I really, there were people out there that did a good job, a better job of finding that rhythm, creating that balance, and leading their families as well as the people that they are assigned to lead.
Right.
So
Cool, cool, cool. Now you get to brag on yourself a little bit here. What was your greatest achievement, whether military or on the police force, or it doesn't even have to be on the line? What is your greatest achievement?
Oh my gosh.
I've seen your wall. I've seen your brag wall, so I know there's a lot of stuff there.
Well, yes, again, as I said in the outset of this podcast, there are many things that I could hang my hat on. I was a chief of a team, senior chief of a team that I led in combat. I achieved the status of master EOD technician. I was on the special response team at the police department. I still have all my fingers and toes.
That's
There
an
are
achievement right there.
yes, there are a great many things that I could hang my hat on. But honestly, if I were not if what I would state as my greatest achievement is, despite the fact that I don't think I did all the things I could have and should have to be a better father and husband throughout my career, I am very blessed at the end of 34 years in uniform to have a family that is intact. I'm still married to my wife. We're very proud of our two sons who are now both doing very well in life. Took lessons from their dad, I hope. Clearly clearly they took some lessons, because they're doing better than I was at their age.
Which is what we hope
Uh,
for, right?
yes, they're both married, have very beautiful, lovely wives. Just found out that our oldest son and his wife are expecting.
Woohoo!
And yes, and so that would be my greatest achievement, is bringing a family through all of that. And I say bringing as if I did it alone. I certainly did not. But having achieved that spot in life today, I would say is definitely my greatest achievement, and the thing that I will be blessed by for the rest of my life is legacy of a strong, battle hardened, and surviving family.
Right. Because it's even though we serve, whether police force or military, it's our family that stays behind that sacrifices more than what we do in the military, because we're focused on a job, but they're the ones that give away their most precious item, which is us. And that's a quote from my wife. And
Yes.
so it is it's truly an honor to have served with you, even though we weren't in the same area of mission, but we both had the same mission to protect this country.
Yes,
And
sir.
one last question for you, sir. If you could title your story, what would it be?
Hmm. A sheepdog's journey.
A sheepdog's journey. That's a good title there, because yes, doing what we do, we definitely have to have the sheepdog mentality. I totally get it and I understand it.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, do you have any last comments or thoughts that you would like to throw out there to the audience who's going to be listening to this podcast coming up?
Yes, I would love to. I would love to share with your listeners that if you are serving in uniform in any capacity, thank you for that service. That extends out to everybody in uniform, all those people that bring freedom to our nation, bring safety and security to our communities. Thank you so much for that. We need more of you.
Yep.
But even more importantly, we need each of you to be the strongest that you can be. And that means physically, mentally, relationally, in your marriages, in your families, and do us the honor of taking care of yourself. Get it right within your four walls so that the overabundance of that is what flows out to everybody else.
Well said. Well said. So, folks, this is Lessons from the Line, a podcast of just a couple of old guys talking about their
Yes.
past history of
Yes.
being in the military and protecting this country. Please join us on YouTube or wherever these podcasts will post. Like us and follow us, and we look forward to seeing you guys on the line. Chris, it has been an honor to interview you this afternoon, and we will look forward to our next podcast coming up. Thanks again,
Likewise.
folks.
Thank you for your time.